If you're watching this channel, it's because you're early in your data science career, or at the very least, you're considering getting into data science. A lot of us are self-taught, or we've had a career change over the years, and have taken the time to learn the technical skills required in this complicated and somewhat difficult career choice. And when I was still learning to code, to be honest, I would just wish and pray there was some sort of tool that could make this whole coding process easier. So when ChatGPT was released, I was buzzing. My understanding of code and productivity at work literally went to the moon. But now, as these AI tools get better and better at coding and analyzing data, every announcement of new AI tools fills me with two emotions: excitement and sheer wonderment and mind-blownness at what humans are freaking capable of. But there's a second emotion in the back of my head, just wondering, dude, what does this mean for data scientists, especially early stage data scientists like myself? Have I taken the wrong path? The obvious step was to look online, and all that was people with vested interests yelling at each other, and ChatGPT wasn't helpful either. But it did point me in the direction of someone who might have the answers. Hey Dave, how you doing?
First of all, thanks for having me, Nash. Looking forward to this conversation.
This is Dave. Dave is the CEO and founder of Data Lumina and has been involved in AI and data science for a decade. So you could say he knows a thing or two about AI and how it might affect data science. He also has an amazing YouTube channel where he shows you how to implement these AI technologies to give you a data science edge. And today he took the time to tell me how he sees AI changing the data science landscape, code interpreter, whether or not it's still worth it to try and be a data scientist, and how to stand out as a data scientist.
First, I used it and I still use it a lot to help me with writing. So
Okay.
drafting little drafts for project proposals or for emails, or basically just get what's in my head on the screen basically as quickly
Yeah.
as possible. So I started playing around with that. But then I thought, hey, you can do much more with this, and I started to explore like the coding things that it can help you with, and in specifically Python. And that's when I thought, hey, I think there are some possibilities here. And I also wanted to create a YouTube video about ChatGPT and specifically how data scientists or data analyst engineers can use ChatGPT. And
Yeah.
that is really when I like put it to the test and gave it some really challenging tasks to help me with a machine learning project. And that is really when I thought, okay, wow, this is some next level thing that we're dealing with right now. This is so good, and this will change the way we work, not just for data science, but the way we all do our work basically.
Did you anticipate after it had come out that everything would evolve so rapidly?
No, to be honest, not really. It's also been quite interesting. So when I started with like my AI journey back in 2013, we started out with learning like the classical machine learning models, and then eventually we got into more like neural nets and deep learning. But to be honest, like most of these algorithms out there, like they exist for like many years. Of course, there have been many like exciting breakthroughs in the world of data science and AI, but
Yeah.
it was mostly more in like the research world. Like they had this big breakthrough with an algorithm, and they have a like for example 5% increase in accuracy on some data sets. But this really was like the first time where it was like on the consumer end that AI basically was made available, and that we got to see like, okay, wow, this is how we can use it as consumers on our end. And now it was all of a sudden like boom, like AI is here basically. We have this
Yeah.
pre-trained model out of the box that we can use and can now use to solve all kinds of problems. So it was so exponentially like at that point already. And then especially looking back at like the past weeks and months with like the plugins and all the software and applications integrating AI into their stack,
Yeah.
it's just blowing up.
So the big burning question that everybody has, what does this mean for data science? How is it going to affect the world of data science in your opinion?
So it's definitely going to affect the way we work, but I strongly believe like in a really good way, because I see it like who are the people building these LLMs? Who are the people integrating these LLMs into applications, which will only get more and will get better? Those are data scientists.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like if you have a data science background and all of these like roles, people use them interchangeably. So you have like AI engineer, data scientist, data analyst. But I feel like at the core, there is a lot of overlap in what we do. Of course, there are separate roles and each have their little nuances. But if you really boil it down to the fundamentals, and what you do as a data scientist is you try to tackle a problem, basically a business problem or a consumer problem or whatever, and you try to really understand that problem, then find the data and then find some kind of model or algorithm or like way of working to use the data to solve the problem. Yeah. That is essentially what we do as data scientists. And that is really what these large language models, these AIs, are currently doing right now. So the way we work and the kind of problems that we solve might change over time, but the fundamental skill set that you develop as a data scientist, I think will be a very valuable skill, very valuable asset to have as we transition into like this world where AI is incorporated into our lives.
This hasn't been released yet, but I have 2 words for you that I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on. Code interpreter. What are your early thoughts on that?
It looks impressive. So I haven't had the chance to play around with it yet. I don't have access yet, but from what I've seen, it's really cool. So my understanding right now, like Code Interpreter is like a plugin for ChatGPT that you can use to first upload a data set. And it seems like you can be able to upload many different kinds of data. So it could be a CSV or a JSON file, or maybe even some unstructured data like a PDF, for example. And then the application basically will index that data. And then it allows you to ask questions about that data and also do some analytics, make visualizations. So this will be really great, of course. And I think this will be a really valuable tool for, first of all, like data analysts, but also for data scientists to really make our life easier. I recently made a video about this, and there I highlighted also like how I think this will impact our work. And we still you gotta remember that it's much more about the interpretation and making it specific for example, the company you're working for and the problem at hand, and really using your expert knowledge, your domain knowledge to bridge that gap basically. And that is where we as data analysts, data scientists, really can add value to a business. And just like processing the data and getting some statistics and creating a plot, that is part of our work, of course. But these new tools will, I guess, just help you to do that faster. So you'll just be able to do your work more effectively and more efficiently. And then it's still up to you, to the expert, to get the conclusions basically out of your findings and communicate that to key stakeholders. And that won't change for a while. So I think this just will be another great tool that we can put into our toolkit, basically, just like we have an IDE, for example, like VS Code, or we have a simple calculator that we can use. And now you have these AI tools. Well, they will just make our life easier. And yes, it will lower the barrier to enter the field of data analytics and data science. Because right now, you might need a little like coding skills to make some fancy plots with Matplotlib, or you have to understand Excel to make some analysis. And these tools will make that available for like basically everyone. And you commented on one of my videos making the analogy between like you had smartphones and then all of a sudden they got really good cameras and everyone could basically make high quality professional photos. But if you, for example, if you have a wedding or you want to do a commercial shoot, you're still going to hire a professional photographer. I think the same will hold true for data analysis and data scientists.
That's really fascinating. So what I'm hearing is it used to be enough. Let's say we have 2 bars, one with domain knowledge and one with coding. It used to be that almost nobody could code. So just having this really high would mean that your domain knowledge could be pretty low, because managers would be like, he doesn't really know that much about our business, but he can code, so we need to keep him. But now, to compensate for the value of just being able to code now being lower, you need to raise your domain knowledge and other skills. Is that accurate?
I think that is a great like summarization of what I was just mentioning. Yeah, like
Yeah.
domain knowledge separates like beginners from like pros.
So let's turn back the clock. Let's imagine right now you were either just coming out of high school or maybe you've been working in another career. And in both of those situations, you're considering getting into data science, but then now this AI thing is blowing up. Do you think it's still worth pursuing data science if you haven't started it yet or you're super early in your career?
Definitely. I think not the timing is better than ever. And why do I say this? Because what we're seeing right now is every business basically wants to hop on this AI trend.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of demand for people that can implement these AI models. And now you could ask yourself the question, hey, is that really a data scientist role, or is that more of like an AI engineering role? And there is a great like overlap between these two roles. So depending also like on what you want to do, you could either like specialize more, first like get some general like data science training and then go more into like some software engineering kind of things to become more of an AI engineer. Or you could say like, hey, I'm much more interested in doing like more classical machine learning. And that is also still a great path because there is also still a huge demand for that. But I think like in the short term, a lot of the attention will shift to AI implementations. And like I said, why is that? Because we have these pre-trained models right now, these large language models. And the projects that you can do with those are very predictable. And that is because the model is already there and we know the capabilities. So we can now very quickly assess if a company or client or whatever has a kind of request or a problem. We can very easily assess like, hey, can we solve this with a large language model? And if the answer is yes, it's basically, okay, how do we configure the APIs and the databases and the systems in such a way that we can turn this into a product or a solution? So it's much more predictable. And on the other hand, we have the more classical machine learning data science projects that require like the huge amounts of like internal data to train your own company models basically to solve the problem. So really, like I've said, I think if you consider starting data science right now, you have more opportunities right now. So it's not only like doing machine learning for companies or setting up some data pipelines, but you also have the AI side of things that you can also transition into. And I think throughout your journey, as you go on this path, basically, you will get a sense for the kind of projects that you like. And you might go more one way or the other way or combine. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm still doing like classical machine learning projects for some of my clients, but I'm also taking a lot of AI projects on right now. And that also requires me to learn more about software engineering. You know, like how do you set up backends, front ends? How do you integrate these APIs? So data science is still an excellent career path to pursue.
I'm so glad that ChatGPT and AI exploded now and not a year or two ago, because it forced me to be terrible at coding, Dave. I was the worst coder you would ever meet, but eventually it forced me to build up that skill set. However, now, if you were a beginning data scientist, how important do you think it is to fundamentally know how to code at a decent level without AI at all? Or do you think since everything will just go more and more AI, is it enough to just kind of know a couple of basics here and there and then depend on AI to fill in the gaps?
Interesting question. And I had like, of course, the same as you basically. So once I really like sucked at programming. I had to like go trial and error, learn stuff, make mistakes, and eventually I got decent at programming, I would say. And right now I feel like, so when I now interact with ChatGPT to help me with coding, I still like learn a ton and see like, hey, oh, I wouldn't have come up with that piece of code. So that's really interesting. And right now I feel like my default is always to go to ChatGPT and try to learn from that. But then I already, of course, have the basic understanding and the fundamentals to now also make sense of what ChatGPT is giving me. So I can assess the code basically, and I can tell whether this is very clever, I like this, or hey, here we made a mistake and we should change that. I believe, coming back to your questions, like fundamentals have always been and will always be like very important. But I think how you learn these fundamentals will change. And I would still recommend, as you for people that are currently like new to programming and are learning, like use these tools, but really, so like ChatGPT, but really make sure that you understand everything that it's providing you, without like simple blindly copy and pasting it and then just running it, and then if it doesn't run, like throw in the error and ask it to change it, and then just throw it in there until your application is working. So I would go about it like this. So ask it to help you with something. It will give you some code. Then go through it like line by line and really try to understand it. And you can also then in turn ask ChatGPT again to like really explain this line by line. That is really a prompt that you can give it to. If you're learning, do that, but add an intermediate step to make sure you understand everything that's going on. And I think if you do it like this, you create a feedback loop for yourself, where you now first of all learn to interact with these large language models for programming tasks. So that is a very valuable skill. But then also you learn the fundamentals of the programming language you're using, because you're asking the large language model to explain what it's doing. And then by integrating it basically into the project you're working on, you also get an understanding of how it fits into the whole basically, and how the individual building blocks that these large language models provide you with, how they build up your whole script or application. So that is how I would go about it if I had to start over.
How can I say this? One of my biggest frustrations, Dave, with this AI boom at the moment, I see a lot of people who, the thread bros basically on Twitter and what have you, where I can tell they don't know much about AI or anything. They just grab a couple of headlines from around the internet, put that there as this clickbait title to get as many people to like and retweet that sort of thing. And that is one of my biggest frustrations, because they're also the first people to be like, data scientists are dying, we don't need doctors anymore, and that sort of thing. So how do you keep up with the latest AI advancements without getting caught up in all of this noise of people who are just saying whatever comes to their head, basically?
Yeah, good question, because that's definitely a challenge right now.
Yeah.
So there are a few things. So first, I try to like surround myself like with people who are also like into this, and I discuss these advancements with them as well. So I have some friends who are really big into AI, and we have some group chats. Also, the mastermind that I run with my company Data Illumina, we have a bunch of like data professionals in there, where we share the latest tips and tricks and releases on AI. We also do like a weekly Zoom call where we talk about all things like data, business, freelancing, but we also talk about AI advancement there. So that is like from like kind of my inner circle where I get that information from. And then also like the sources that I try to monitor. So I think Twitter can be really good, but you have to like really filter who you're following and who you're paying attention to. Create a new Twitter account, follow like 5 accounts, something like that you feel are like spot on with delivering high quality like AI news. And that is now your go-to stream to learn about new AI. Then also what I believe is a good resource, and I'm on that emailing list right now, is the TLDR emailing list, and I will send you the specific one after this, so you can maybe put it in the descriptions or so for your audience. But it's basically an email list, and you specifically have one for artificial intelligence. And I think like every day or every other day, you will get an email with like 5 or 6 like things that are happening in AI right now. So it's basically the TLDR, too long didn't read for AI. So you have a quick summary, and it's a pretty trusted and respected source.
there is so much you can choose to learn or drill down about on AI, where it's impossible to pick up all these skills at once. So at the moment, how are you kind of deciding with new things coming out every day? How are you deciding, okay, let me take a few days to actually learn this properly rather than chase the new shiny object?
Good question. Because really, like I think you put it well. Like there are a lot of shiny objects out there, especially right now in the world of AI. So what I believe always really helps is to, before you decide to like hop on the next shiny thing or chase this or that, always make sure to first like zoom out a little, really like big picture view, and decide basically like what is it that you want. Make sure you have like I what I do, like I do that every year. I create like a 10-year plan basically for my life. Really say like, hey, where do I want to be in like 10 years? And of course you can't really know exactly, but it's dreaming. That's the idea of this. So really zoom out, think like, hey, where do I want to be? And then basically reverse engineer that big dream into like smaller little actions and milestones that you can accomplish, and then basically translate back to a 1-year plan. Because we as humans, 10 years is, we can't really grasp that, but a 1-year plan, that is something we can do, right? You can think of, okay, right now it's, what is it? It's the 20th of May, 2023. Okay, where do I want to be like in 12 months? We can reason about that. And then whatever, like, so first 10 years and then break it down. Okay, what is then, where can I then be in 1 year? And then see like, hey, what can I do then right now to make sure I am at that goal basically that I set for myself in 1 year. And if you're, for example, just starting out, that might be like finishing your degree, for example. So you might focus on that, but then you also want to set yourself up so that when you finish that degree, you're ready to take on a job. So you might take on some projects already. Or if you just started out with your career, basically think like, hey, what is kind of the route that I want to go? Do I want to become a manager? Do I become a data scientist? Do I become an AI engineer? And then really figure out, hey, is this next shiny new object, this thing, will it help me to, first of all, reach like my 1-year goal, but more importantly, will it make sure that I stay on the right track towards my big picture 10-year goal?
Picking Dave's brain definitely helped clarify my thoughts around AI and data science, and now looking back at the interview, everything just makes so much more sense. And even in my current job, when I think about it, I am one of the people who's best placed to implement AI systems as we move towards that direction. So I don't think we've taken the wrong path. And I think that if we keep pushing on, but keep an open mind and keep surveying the landscape and seeing what's changing, what can we implement from the AI field, I think we could be fine. If you want even more detailed information from Dave, check out his channel linked in the description and his website if you're interested in becoming a freelance data scientist. If you're curious about how I've been implementing AI and ChatGPT into my day-to-day data science workflow, check out this video. But if you're new around this channel, I'm Data Nash, documenting my journey from a newbie data scientist to one day being a lead. No matter how this field changes and the oncoming AI integration, I will be here documenting my journey. So hit subscribe, follow along.